guys, welcome back to the channel. On today's video I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how I've set up my Garmin Livesope, from transducer placement to how I run the wires, and just a few, this isn't an installation video, just kind of some tips and tricks that you can watch this video along with some of the other installation videos that are out there, and it may give you a little insight to whenever you're either setting up your Livesope, or if you see something you like and maybe you want to redo the way that you've got your Livesope set up. So let's get into this. So right here, this is where I've got my unit set up, and this is the Garmin Echomap Ultra 10SV, and I would recommend getting the Garmin Echomap Ultra 12. The 10 works great. I have no issues with the 10, but if I had to do it over again, I'd like to have a bigger screen. I think there's about a $700 difference, and if you're going to spend the money for a Garmin Livesope, go ahead and spend the extra $700. You're not going to be disappointed. They do have an option out there that is a 16-inch screen. I think it's priced in at either $5,000 or $6,000, and that is just a little bit steep. So I'm not saying you have to go out there and spend that kind of money, but for $700 extra more dollars, you get 2 inches of screen, and that's what I would recommend doing. But this unit here, I've used it since February, and it has worked great, and highly recommend it. It does a wonderful job. The reason why I have it placed here like this is because whenever I'm fishing off the front of the boat, the arrow on my trolling motor is going to point to where the transducer is pointing. And you've watched my other videos, a lot of times you see that I'll set up on the other side of the boat and have my pole there, and this here just kind of, it just kind of runs in line, as opposed to have the set here like most people have it set. The front of the trolling motor is going to be on this side of the screen, or on this side of the screen. So as you can see, it moves from left to right. From your boat would be here, or right under the boat would be here, and all the way out to 30 feet the way we normally have it set up, or however you want to set it up. So I've got it set over here, that way I can stand there, and whenever I have my pole stuck out, it's for me to get it wrapped around in my head. It just works really well like that. I also like having it out of the, with it being here, it's kind of out of the way, so I have a clearer walkway, so I really like that. Moving into cable placement and wire placements, this boat here is a Lowe Stinger 19.5, and what I've done is I've got the power, the transducer, and also the transducer, which I run the Garmin Force Trolling motor, which has an integrated transducer in the head of the trolling motor for side image and down imaging. I thought I would need it. Now that I have Livesope, I rarely use either of the other two functions. What I do is if I've fished a spot and I may be going to another spot or looking for another spot, I may switch it over. I've got a function to where I have side imaging and the map and the forward view, and sometimes I'll use that because as I'm traveling up a bank or something, with that side imaging, I may be able to pick up a signature off to the left or right that I wouldn't see in the 20-degree cone that comes with the Livesope. So I do use that some, but primarily I'm always on forward view. So I've got these cables here. These cables, they run under here, and then they go up under my boat. So the cables go in here, and they go under the boat. I'm able to take this tray out, and there's power that's run through to here, and I'll show you back to a main block that's used to disseminate power out. But all those cables are hid in the hull of the boat. So these cables here, they go through here. The connections are here. The ground is there. I've also, one tip on these units is if you're getting low voltage, it may be a ground issue. What I have done is I've got 3 grounds connected to the ground wire on this. I've got one ground wedged in between a weld spot and 2 pieces of the aluminum. I've got another ground that is clipped to a piece of the hull, and then on the 3rd ground I've actually got it, it's hard to see, but I've got it, this screw here goes through it. Once I added those 3 grounds, I was able to notice that I was getting a lot better voltage. I went from running anywhere from 10.4 or 10.1 to getting anywhere up into 11.9 and even 12. So if you're having issues with your Garmin unit shutting off or flickering or different things like that, definitely check the ground. You may need to add more grounds. That's kind of a little tip that you can look to. Alright, as far as for the black box, I've got all kinds of rods and everything stored here. But the black box is going to be right here in this rod locker. So there's the black box, and I've got the network cable and the cable that's going into the transducer. Let me see if I can. Okay. So it's going to be a little hard to see. This here, I believe, is the, yeah, that's the LiveScope transducer cable. So that cable there is running from there and it's coming out right here. So as it comes out right here, I have actually used the stabilizer, kickstand, whatever you want to call it. I've actually used it, and I have taped, because you're always supposed to use electrical tape whenever you're using these products here, because they have such little micro cables in there that if you use zip ties, you can crush those cables and damage the product. So I've run that cable from there onto the trolling motor shaft right there, and then left enough play in here to connect it right here, in which I have the perspective mount. So if I want to, I can switch it over to perspective. Let me see. Okay, and as you can see, it is on forward view right there. So it just stays up like that. I use the perspective sometimes whenever I'm maybe bass fishing, but I don't bass fish a lot. As you can tell, I mostly crappie fish, so most of the time it stays up in the forward view. But I've had it set up like this all year. I've not, knock on boat, I haven't had any issues with this getting tangled, which with this trolling motor, it will not spin. It doesn't spin around as much, I think, as some of the other trolling motors. And I don't know, I haven't run the Ultrex. I have run a Tarova, but it's been at least, you know, over a year since I ran the Tarova. So I'm not going to really say, you know, I'm not going to talk about their motors. But this motor here, once it goes around, maybe once or twice, it'll stop and it turns back around. So I haven't had any issues with those wires getting tight or getting tangled up in that configuration. Also, so that there is the, like we said, that there goes to the transducer. This other smaller cable, that is what is actually connecting to your sonar unit. So that, of course, it goes through here. And I'm not for sure, it's one, I believe it's this cable. I believe this cable here is the power cable, and I believe this cable here is the sonar cable, vice versa. But of course it runs through here, connects back there. There's actually, yeah, 4 cables. Okay, there's a power cable, no, the 3 cables. There's a power cable connecting to this. There's a power cable. There is a transducer cable for the sonar that is connected to the head of that, and there is the transducer cable that is running from the black box to here, because the black box is actually taking all the information that comes from that transducer. The black box takes the information and then makes it to where it's readable by the Garmin unit. So that is how that is set up. Now for the power is right there. It runs, I have it kind of zip tied there, but it runs right through here, down there. It's zip tied. and then I have it going through, it's hard to see, can't see in there, but it is going through that. And I have it coming, as you see, this here is the console. I have it coming from that rod storage. It's coming out here, and then I have it connected to a switch, and I can't really show you under there, but it's connected to an accessory switch on my panel. It's connected right here to this accessory switch, and I will focus that. Yeah. So you see how this accessory switch is switched right here. That is all tied into the master power switch. So as long as this power switch is turned off, there is no power to the black box, and there's no power to the Garmin Echomap Ultra. So that'll keep, once you have it, if you have it tied into, if you have a setup like this, and you can run all the power through that, you can keep it turned off. That way it's not constantly drawing on your batteries. And that is how I have that set up. So going back to hit on the highlights of the video, using the stabilizer bar to run our transducer cable up here, keeps everything out of the way, especially whenever the head's spinning. That's great. Right here, leaving enough slack that it's able to spin, that way it doesn't get tight. And of course, leaving enough slack here to whenever this is stowed, there's nothing getting pinched, everything is in good shape. You have that. That is, of course, one tip that we want to talk about. The other tip is the location of our unit. It may not be for everybody, but for us, really like having that unit there. It's out of the way, and we can look at it and stay oriented with our trolling motor and with where our transducer is pointing. The other tip that we would want to continue to talk about is having our black box stored in the rod locker. I've had it there. I don't feel like I've lost any storage in the rod locker. I use the rod socks. I'm able to slide them over top of it. It has not given me any problems thus far. I've had it set up like that since February. The next tip, of course, would be having all the power set up on a power switch to where whenever you're not using it, you can cut the power off. That way it's not constantly pulling on the batteries. So, you know, it's real simple to run, you know, the power source through there, and when you read your instructions, I think the fuse is a 7.5 fuse, so we were able to put a 7.5 fuse on that switch. We haven't had any problems with it. And then maybe last but not least, definitely if you're having issues with maybe whenever your live wells are kicking on, or if something else is, you're using some other function with that battery that is causing you to get low voltage, add another ground, because these boats, they're sitting on water. You know, the more grounds, it's not going to hurt. So that was a little tip that it took me a while to figure out. I actually bought another battery because I thought, you know, I'm getting low voltage. I thought the battery was going bad, and it could have been that the battery was getting weaker. But once I added in those other two grounds, it really helped. And I actually had an issue to where the ground was getting loose, and the unit just was losing power, and it wasn't working. I couldn't get it turned back on. So that was a grounding issue. Once I fixed that, I haven't had any problems with it. Leave your comments if you have questions. There may have been something that I didn't cover, or something that you would have liked to have seen that maybe I didn't show. Leave your comments. You know, I try to get to those. I'm going to do a video. I've got a small hack that I want to show you on the water. I wasn't able to get on the water this week and show it to you, but there's a small hack. So definitely with the Garmin Livesope that I figured out, a way that you can see the fish better, or you can see the structure better, depending on what you want to do. And I want to definitely go into that in a different video, so stay tuned for that. And we appreciate all your subscriptions. We appreciate all your comments and all your likes. And just keep watching the channel, and we'll try to keep content coming back to you.